Hi, you guys. How's everybody doing? Thank you for joining me for another episode, Car Chronicle segment of Unleashed Alchemy. I am hoping that nature will cooperate with me today as I do this video. This video. First of all, beware because I do not have notes, and if you've been here, you know what can happen when I don't have notes. But it's okay because we're going to talk about some things today. First of all, here's what I want to tell you. When you are shifting your focus from a religious system to spirituality, number one, it doesn't mean that you have to leave your religion that you practice. Okay, that's number one. It could mean that you may need to step away from that for a moment, focus on spirituality, and then perhaps go back to it. If that is what is aligned for your soul. All right. Also, when you hear me talk about, or anyone talk about just spirituality, or let me rephrase that. When you hear me talk about spirituality, my focus is beyond just talking about God. It is because my view of God, first of all, I don't always use the term God because to me, the term God feels limiting. All right. We have, from my perspective, from my experience, what I know is that there is a higher intelligence. There is a highest possible power. If you want to call it God, that is fine. That's what I know for sure. I also know that there are elevated celestial guides that are a part of my spirit team, my spirit squad. Okay, that who walk with me every single day. That's what I know. That is my perspective. So when I talk about spirituality, that is the angle that I speak from. All right. When I talk about spirituality, it is beyond the person, Jesus, or Yahshua, which actually is the appropriate name, the correct name. Do research on your own for that. You're not going to hear me talk about spirituality just in those terms, okay? Why am I saying this? Because if you have been in a religion and you feel a call, you feel a tug, you feel a pull to begin to broaden your mind, to step into and surrender to an expansion of your soul, of your spirituality, it can take you beyond your religion. All right. Now, I have my views of religion, which I have talked about, and I'll leave that for another episode because I don't want to make this one too long. But many times for those of you that are coming over and your focus is on spirituality and you're saying that perhaps God, Jesus, and the Bible, and I know there's others, but those three prongs is what I grew up on. So those three prongs are the examples that I'm going to use. And perhaps you're saying, I am stepping outside of that because there's more. There's more for me. There is a spiritual science for me that takes me into another realm, that takes me into another dimension, into an elevated dimension. what can happen is you will have people around you. And when I'm talking about people, I'm talking about the people that are closest to you, your family, friends. I'm not just talking about people that will see you just out, just random people talk, that will hear you talk about your spirituality and they have their opinions. Who cares? But truth be told, the opinions of those that we love and care about, we can say that they don't matter, but in the back of our mind, our egoic mind, they do. However, when you are stepping into spiritual expansion, number one, you have to remember that there are going to be people who have God, Jesus, and the Bible as their three-pronged, whatever you want to call it, method, practice, and that's it. Okay? For them, nothing can get into that, nothing can penetrate that, nothing can get out. That is perfectly okay. It does not make them right or wrong. All right? It does not make you right or wrong. All right? But what I want to remind you with this video is that you cannot allow their opinions of the way that you speak, because, side note, when you are just surrendering to your soul and you're surrendering to these new visions that you're having, you're surrendering to these new downloads and these messages that you are getting that are feeding your soul, you know it's not coming from your ego, because it could be coming in a way that you're hearing that you don't even, that's not even in a way that you talk. That's actually one of the reasons, or one of the ways that you can tell when you are getting a message from your higher self. Again, that's another video. But you cannot allow people's concerning conversations about the way that you're speaking about spirituality, if it's not including the Bible, Jesus, and God. You cannot allow their concerns to water down what you have been shown by your higher self. You cannot allow their opinions to water down what you have received from your higher source. You cannot allow their opinions to water down your clarity and your liberation and your freedom that you have been experiencing, because you have decided to make spirituality the backbone of your life, and you have chosen a spiritual practice or spiritual practices that go outside of the zone of God, Jesus, and the Bible. Also, when it comes to people that are closest to us, it can be very easy to get into a debate or an argument. It can be very sneaky. It can sneak up on you. Do not allow yourself to get caught up in that debate loop. All right? For example, I had these types of conversations with family just recently, just as recently as today. And there were all these concerns about the way that I'm talking and what I'm sharing with the world. Okay? And so I had to stop myself from getting into a back and forth, because my responses, I had to make sure that my responses were coming from my higher self, that my responses were soul aligned. Sure, but soul aligned, not coming from my ego. And when my responses started to come from my ego, that's when I knew that I was allowing myself to get into a loop. How do you know if you're responding from your spirit and from your soul and you're making it clear about your stance, about your spiritual practice, and that you're confident in your spiritual practice, because you have every right to speak in confidence about how you practice and how you view spirituality and how you view God, and whatever label that you want to use. But you know, if you are responding from ego, if you have this feeling of, well, I just have to let them know, or I can't let them think that what they're saying is getting to me, that's when you know that you are responding from ego, and that you are about to get yourself caught up in a debate argument loop. Okay, even after I was done with the conversation, I was still getting text messages from the same person. Basically, they were just repeating themselves, none of which I agree with, but I was not responding to that, because for me to respond would have been out of ego. The reason why you want to stay out of that debate loop or argument loop is because you have to ask yourself, do I want, after I have been clear about my stance, if I have been clear about my confidence in where I'm at and in my spiritual growth and on my spirituality, if I have made that point, if I have been confident using the power of my words, then there's nothing else for me to say. And you certainly you want to reserve as much of your energy. You want to reserve as much of your magic for your expansion and for your spiritual growth. Because when you grow, when you're spiritually growing, you can't help but affect the people that are close to you, ultimately affecting the world. Because remember, we are the salt of the earth. We came here with a purpose. If you're looking for a purpose, this is another side note. If you're looking for a purpose, your purpose here is to, whatever you do and what you say has to be for the benefit of preserving humanity. There you go. There's your purpose. All right. But when you start to embrace spirituality, when you really start to go within, you really start to understand that is why you are here. Not to be underneath some dogma of religion, not to argue with someone about your spiritual practice, regardless of their opinions. You came here to access those parts of you that have been called junk DNA. No, honey, all of that is part of your spiritual science. That junk DNA, that's where your soul is. That is where your magic is. And spirituality teaches us to go back in to reactivate all of that within us that got covered up with religion. Okay? And there was one thing, I just lost my train of thought. There's one more thing that I want to say here. So if you're talking about spirituality, there's this common thing. I don't know what it is. It's ignorance is what I'm going to call it. But there are some people who feel that when you're talking about spirituality, if you are not focused on God, Jesus, and the Bible, then all of a sudden those people want to start using labels such as witch. They call it witchcraft, that in itself is another video. That's from ignorance. And by the way, being called a witch does not bother me, okay, which someone has already done. Side note. But anyway, it's out of ignorance. Because and you know what, never mind, I won't even go into that on this video. But this is just a reminder for those of you that perhaps you're experiencing a challenge with communicating where you are at in your spirituality with people that are closest to you, and perhaps you grew up in a certain religion and people want to know why you've left, or why you've why you are changing how you speak about God, okay, about the universe. Just, I want to remind you to stand in your knowing, okay? Stand strong in your spirituality, all right? Keep practicing the way that you're practicing, even if it does look different from how you used to practice. Stand strong in that. And always know that you are guided. If you'll know when it's time to move from level to level. Spirituality is about continual elevation. All right? And that is why I say, for me, yes, I grew up in a religion, but for me, for many of us, it was never meant for us to stay there. That was a stepping stone. That was a stepping stone. It was like, for me, it was like boot camp. All right. That's another conversation as well. So that's the message that I wanted to bring to you today. And with that being said, I have in my membership, the Unleashed Alchemy Mystery School, there is a workshop that's called From Religion to Spirituality. And it really focuses on the challenges that may come up in conversations with the people that you love and care about, on not really having to explain, because you don't really have to explain anything, but being able to communicate, but also not allowing their labels and opinions to cause you to question your spiritual surrender. So it is a workshop that's a part of the membership, along with 7 other classes in religion to spirituality. That one has, I believe, 7 modules. And so if you are interested in that, and you're interested in being a part of the membership, click on the link that is in the description box of this video. And I will see you in the membership. If you have any questions for me about this video, if you have any takeaways, please leave them in the comments section. Also, if you are new here, thank you for watching. Also, subscribe. All right, for those of you that have been here, I appreciate you for your continual support. Don't forget to like and share. And until next time, cheers.